Oh, I just got the recording on there. So yes, Friday night's shining light and shadows, and I've given a bit of an opening explanation there on our archetypes, masculine and feminine archetypes. Tonight we're going to look at some of the practicalities, how we can practically use some skills to start to recognize and integrate our shadows. I'm going to start tonight with the feminine archetypes. So let me just share my screen here. Okay, great. So you've got a hold of that. So our feminine archetypes. Essentially, there isn't a gender base. There is no difference between the masculine and the feminine archetypes. It's not the labels that we give them. Recognize this, it's not about the labels. It's about how we perceive what a sovereign would be. Whether our sovereign is a king, a president, or a queen, it doesn't matter. Um, whether the warrior is the mother, how we perceive our archetypes. You've got to be really careful. I've said once or twice that we don't learn new words. We don't go to the dictionary and learn new words. We absorb them from our environment. That's why the collective consciousness is so influential in our shadows. We absorb everything from our environment. Now, most words we don't know where they came from, but there will be emotional words that we connect with. And we have to be really careful with these archetypes, that we're not seeing a list of, okay, so the sovereign archetype is this, this, and this. Okay, and then projecting them onto myself or to other people when they're just really labels that somebody else has listed on a piece of paper. So take this education here, this learning here, with a grain of salt. Absorb, understand the archetypes, but then start to build your own archetypes up, your own understandings. So we're going to focus here on the feminine archetypes. So we have the mature archetype, the light archetype, the archetype in its fullness. So the queen is archetype in its fullness, is somebody that's just all powerful, but not using the ego or force. They're somebody that is ruling by their presence. Queen Elizabeth II, um, Michelle Obama, these are the people that you would perceive in this sort of position. Now we have an active pole and a passive pole of the shadow archetypes, the two extremes of this triangle. Now, is a very immature young child, we might sit down at these shadow archetypes, but we mature with experience out of them. But experience is very urethral. It's something we can't hold on to. So there's lots of adults running around with adolescent minds, adolescent emotions, adolescent attitudes and characteristics. So age doesn't give you experience. And we have the actives and the passive bipolar shadows of this mature archetype. Now, I've talked in the last, if you want to find out a little bit more, just go down to the bottom here on this YouTube page and you'll find subscribe. Please subscribe. I've got to get some numbers up here. Subscribe and you can actually go back and look at some of the programs I've done on the archetypes and the shadow archetypes. I'm not going to go into those too deeply. That's not where we're going tonight. I just want to go over a little bit tonight the practicalities of it. So the feminine archetypes, the queen, the wise woman, the lover, and the mother. So the sovereign queen, if you like, the tyrant and the weakling, are the two shadow archetypes of the queen. And what am I going to do here? So we're going to bring this up. So let's just have a look at a few of the things that we could expect as the queen. Some of the ways that we can apply, well, the ways that we notice, ways that we can start to take control and start to build the skills to evolve our mature, our sovereign, our queen archetype. So first thing, one of the first things, and there's a few different things. I'm not going to go through them all. Again, if you put a note down the bottom here, ask me for the hard copy of this, and I can send it off to you. I can post it off to you, so you get more in-depth information. So the queen, noticing The queen is somebody that sets boundaries, clear boundaries. So just think for a moment, how do you set boundaries? Whether it's with coaching clients, whether it's with students in training, or just with socially with friends, whatever it's, how do you set boundaries? Now, a queen is somebody that knows exactly where that line is, black and white. And we're going to be somewhere sitting in that triangle. So setting boundaries. And a queen is somebody that empowers their clients, empowers people around them. So Stephen Covey said, seek first to understand before you're understood. This is empowering people, understanding them. Ask them the right questions so that they understand, so that you understand them, helps them to understand themselves, because quite often we're talking to understand what we're talking about. So clear boundaries, empowering clients. These are things that a queen in their power could do. Now, some of the things that you can do to explore the shadows, the sovereign queen, is to think about, reflect on controlling tendencies, fears, insecurities that you have in relationships. One of the one of the one of the uh, uh, subjects that we cover in the Elite Mentorship Forum here is mastering your relationships. And the biggest relationship, the most important relationship is with yourself. So noticing yourself, and when you're in a relationship with yourself, with somebody else, with others, when these insecurities come up, when you're controlling things, when we're controlling things, it's usually because of fears, the insecurities we have. So we try to control it. Our ego leads us into these. So reflecting on those is somebody is helping you to work into a more powerful queen in their power. And I will probably say it with all of the archetypes. So a really big thing in shadow work is journaling. So writing about moments where you were overtly authoritative, being overly authoritative is not the queen in their maturity. Queen in their maturity is somebody that's in control, authoritative just by their presence. They don't need to go over the top, because that's when the ego starts to lose, because the insecurities come in. You can see the insecurities, the fears, the over the top authoritativeness comes in, and we're dropping down from that sovereign down towards the shadows. So there's a balance of confidence and humility that we're looking for with the queen. That's some of the things that we're looking for to build ourselves into to build up our understanding of who this sovereign archetype is for me. So the journaling that we're doing is for clarity. It's really to set aside understanding of when we're being controlling, when we're not being a queen in their fullness. See, that part of journaling is the positive part of journaling. So setting time aside for journaling to record down, write, not on the computer, because it uses a different part of your mind. This journaling is to know your aspirations, your values, your desires, and when you're holding them for the day, when you're letting yourself down, if you like. So journaling's a really important. Journaling's a really important. So journaling's a really important part for any shadow. In this case, we're looking for clarity. What it means to really be that queen sovereign for us, that queen in their power. And journaling is also for those moments when you feel empowered, when you feel that you were in control, but not overtly. You were just in control because you were. And being a trainer, being a EMF trainer, or being a coach, taking those experiences and thinking about recording, journaling, how you can integrate those into your day-to-day life. Okay, journaling. And something else that we can do is visualization. Visualizing yourself wearing the crown, experiencing it. Visualization is the whole story. It's not about the end, it's about the whole story. It's about the emotions, the feelings, the weight, the significance of wearing that crown. Good exercise for being the queen, just visualizing it for a few moments. especially if you're doing your meditation. Who am I when I'm being the queen? And to set yourself into that, wearing the crown. So as a coach, as a trainer, you're recognizing your authority, wearing the crown, visualizing the crown on your head, your authority, your wisdom. And this gives us an opportunity, a chance. And if I'm working with, I was working with a business person a little while ago, and they were stepping into that circle of life, some people call it. But in this case, it was stepping into that circle of this sovereign archetype. So that's visualization. Something else that the Queen does is strong boundaries. We all know about strong boundaries. Well, we all know about boundaries and how strong they are. So thinking about the Queen has very black and white boundaries. It's exactly how they are. How do you set them without being too rigid, but not too porous? When you set, always you see this first part of first self-development, personal development I was talking about was the self-awareness. It can be quite difficult because suddenly you're becoming aware of where you're setting your boundaries in those relationships with people, whether it's a coaching client, an audience that you're training, or business colleagues, work colleagues. Where are the boundaries? Are you comfortable with them? Are you comfortable making them stronger? And just reflecting, a lot of reflection, a lot of journaling, a lot of meditation goes on in shadow work. Just meditating, visualizing on how they impact, how presently your boundaries impact your relationships. So this is the Queen is an archetype where we're looking at assertiveness to set those boundaries, but just noticing how you are with assertiveness, being able to say no when it's necessary, and honoring your needs. This is self-care. You can't help others until you first helped yourself. I don't want to spend too long on this. So that's the Queen. Yep. If you're interested, as I said, subscribe and I'll send you the full transcript of this. So the wise woman. That's the other one. The wise woman. And the two shadows, the crone and the fool. So applying this in our practice, in our coaching practice as trainers in life. Again, this is self-reflection. Great to do it with journaling. Journaling is setting aside a time just to sit down and notice what happened during the day, how you reacted, and then how you could react. See, the unconscious runs these systems that it's always run. This is why we're unconscious. This is why we're asleep, because our unconscious is happy just running systems. This is when you sort of think, why did I do that an hour ago? Why did I say that yesterday? Because we ran it unconsciously. So the first part of personal development, journaling, is just the self-reflection, recognizing what I'm doing, what's happening, like what's triggering me, what emotions am I feeling? So assessing your styles, your interactions, your relationships, and noticing, are you leaning more towards the archetype and the power or towards the shadow? And this is where the questions, the acknowledgement comes in without judgment, being accountable. If you're being if you're being a fool, then admit it. You're not telling anybody else about this. This is holding yourself accountable. A good coach is going to do this. If you're taking on a coach, they're the person that is going to hold you accountable to this. But you don't need a coach for everything. And you could start off shadow work with the journaling, with the meditation, without a coach necessarily, but you need to keep yourself accountable. Wise woman is about, similar to the magician, on the masculine archetypes is the magician. So the wise woman is the one that harbors the knowledge, that has the skills, the techniques, is more experienced. So noticing, so if we look at the shadow side here, so journaling you're gonna notice moments you overthought, that you're overthinking things. You're gonna define mistakes. Notice the mistakes, define them, and how did you handle them? So this is noticing when you're not in control, if you like, that you're not being the archetype, whichever archetype it is, that you're not being that archetype in their fullness. So it's noticing how you reacted. So how does that reaction, which archetype does that fit with? Does it sit with the fool? And thinking about ways of being empathetic with feeling driven clients. Noticing, so you have your archetypes. So the first, of course, to start to look at your clients' archetypes, your students' archetypes, your colleagues at work, their archetypes. You need to recognize your own first. Then you can start to recognize this. So how do you react to their archetypes? Being empathetic for clients that are more feeling driven, that are more into their lover than their wise woman. So this is thinking through the process of what's happening. And a wise woman is somebody that's always seeking education, seeking power, seeking mentorship. Really interesting to see how do you sit with a mentor? Have you got one? And you need a mentor that embodies the light and the shadow aspects. It's not a coach. A mentor is somebody that can hold knowledge that you're after. They've got the experiences. How do they balance their wisdom, their vulnerability, their strategic actions? It's not education like school, classical education. This is strategic. This is how they hold themselves with the knowledge, how they express and share the knowledge. So if we think about some of the shadow practical exercises that we could do in coaching or training, talking about journaling for the wise woman, you're talking about wisdom. So you want to keep a wisdom journal. So I'm not talking about 4 different journals here. We talk a couple of pages, a couple of sentences, maybe a paragraph different days on different archetypes that come up. What happened today? How did I react to it? Okay, so that was that was a reaction that could fit into the wise woman. So let's today write about that one. It's about wisdom. Writing down insights, lessons, moments of clarity that you had. Because it's those nuggets of wisdom that help us move from A to B, to move on in the journey. We're always told in personal development we're on the journey. How many of us actually keep going on the journey? We fall off it, we get stuck, we drift. The wise woman is about archetypal exploration. They're about mindfulness practice. They're about symbolic rituals. It's expanding the knowledge. Let me get on to the mother. The mother's the next one I want to cover. So the mother's more of this nurturing, holding the space, if you like. A really key skill to have as a coach, as a trainer, is anyone into the mindfulness personal development industry is being able to hold that space. Can do a whole session on holding the space. It takes a lot of self-work. Journaling. So specifically focusing on experiences related to nurturing. So at work, somebody new started, how were you nurturing them to feel comfortable, to fit in? Exploring emotions, memories, patterns associated with being the mother, but with being the maternal figure. And remember, journaling is not just about the positive, it's reflecting on the positive and the negative, and the positive and the not so positive situations that came up. And it's usually in the shadows, it is in the shadows that we uncover the insights. So to explore those shadow aspects of the mother, we're looking at the fears, unresolved emotions that come up. And how do they get expressed? How do we express them in our coaching practice? Do we actually look after, nurture our clients, or do we hold them accountable just with a little bit too much edge when it's not? You can't be black and white all the time about holding them accountable. You've got to sort of have that balance. And it's a dance moving between all of them. And let me go on to the lover, which is the fourth, the final archetype here. So again, self-reflection, journaling. It's about reflecting on commitment. It's about gratitude. It's about connection, building relationships. This is the lover archetype. When was I do that happened today? And this is a positive thing that came out of it. Or maybe there's fears, hesitations about how level of intimacy do I have in the coaching relationship? This is the lover archetype that's coming out in their fullness. In that case, they're maybe their shadow lover. How much do you draw? How much do you withdraw your emotional connection? Very closely bound together, the archetypes. That's a boundary archetype. But did I withdraw the emotional connection? Quite often, we fear to show our emotions. I was at a meeting yesterday talking to a trainer, Tony Robbins trainer, and the reason I wanted to talk to him was that his emotions were overflowing in a situation that came up for him. The love is quite an interesting one, very similar to the masculine lover. So some of the things again, journaling for the love, encouraging clients to keep the journal, writing daily affirmations about love, acceptance, self-love and acceptance, compassion. These are things that the lover is going to be aware of. Reflecting on moments that you've shown love to yourself and to others, and exploring the barriers, the shadows. Heart-centered meditation's another good one for the lover. And exploring the love language. So I don't want this to be too long. They're the archetypes. Some of the practicalities. There's certain things that we can do that will take on what we can learn, what we can take on, what we can express, how we can develop our archetypes. And ultimately, we're looking to develop them to their fullness. Next week, I'll look at the masculine archetypes and how we bring them into our lives, how we can bring their, let me just stop sharing it, how we can bring them into our practice. I hope that's been helpful. Archetypes are a big part of shadow work, but it's the exploration, acknowledgement, how we are, why we do what we do. So this is John, and I'm shining out. I'm signing out now from Shining Light on Shadows. We'll see you again next week. And subscribe to the YouTube channel down here. What's that? It's on that side, isn't it? Subscribe and join and get notifications of this every week. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.